if you're privileged, and there are a lot of privileged Hindus in Bangladesh, if you're not privileged, it's something else. There may be a sort of, you might have been scarred by something that you saw happening around you, like the 2021 riots, anti-Hindu riots that happened across Bangladesh. But even if you're privileged, I think there's a sense that I felt from talking to people, privileged Hindus in Bangladesh, the elite, so to speak, that they are now conscious that, they're not the first class citizens of Bangladesh. Being the other.
What I experience, what I feel is because I have direct experience with the victims of both Bangladesh and Bharat, who are victims of, say, Islamic expansion, violence, and all those things. Like people of Bangladesh, the Hindus of Bangladesh, they have no voice and no minimum security. No minimum security. I'm talking about especially the common and normal Hindus who are daily workers, school going students, especially girls. No honor, no security, nothing. You can just imagine in our Bharat, Kashmir, there is a mosque, Hazrat Bal. I hope you all have heard about it. Hazrat Bal. So the hair of so-called prophet vanished from the mosque maybe 2.5 decades before. And the news, maybe 3 decades before, and the news spread all over the globe and even in Bangladesh. So for a missing hair of the prophet, Hindus were butchered in Bangladesh. Can you just imagine? And there are many parts in our existing Bharat. Parts like some places in Kerala, West Bengal, Assam, where the situation is more or less similar to that of Bangladesh. Like I personally come from West Bengal. There are 3 districts in West Bengal. According to 2011 census, the 3 districts are heavily Muslim majority: Murshidabad, North Dinajpur, and Malda. And there are several blocks, subdivisions, apart from these 3 districts, which are also heavily Muslim populated. There are thousands of villages in present West Bengal where Hindus are minority. So we all I am very fortunate to be like talking in front of such learned young audience. You please have to understand why Bangladesh and erstwhile East Pakistan and West Pakistan happened. Those places of the then Bharat were heavily, Hindus were heavily outnumbered. And that's why those parts of the country of our Bharat went away from us. And similar things are still waiting in several districts of Bharat, hundreds of districts of Bharat. And we must all be very much, alert.
The sense of othering you cannot miss. See, one of the problems that happens in Kolkata especially, there's a lot of cross cultural exchanges between West Bengal and Bangladesh. So he would know a lot of artists from Tollywood and singers and songwriters and film stars, filmmakers. They go to Bangladesh and vice versa. Some of them from Bangladesh come to West Bengal and they sort of, they collaborate on music albums and films and all that. So you get a sense that if you're observing sitting in Dhaka or sitting in Kolkata, you feel that everything's very honky-dory. We are singing similar songs, we are participating in each other's cinema. There are also places in Dhaka, places like Gulshan 1, Gulshan 2, Dhanmondi, which are these very sanitized spaces. So, and there is I would say that there is a sort of syncretism that still exists there. So you will see very liberal, you will come across very liberal talk there, But what we mistake, especially from elite Kolkata, about Bangladesh is that beneath that beneath that bubble, there is a bigger reality which is being missed. And this sense of othering is hugely there. And it is so much there that like I told you that, there are of course privileged Hindus in Bangladesh, and there are quite a few. In fact, there are the election that just happened in January. I think there are 12 MPs But I have spoken to Hindus on the ground, and they said, none of the Hindu MPs in the Sheikh Hasina parliaments actually speak for us. They are just MPs, but they don't speak for the community. So there is a toning down of your religiosity, which you can't express forthright. Okay, which is they've talked about people who are direct victims. Like when riots happened, I'm not talking about them. I mean, that's a whole different story. What happened when riots take place? I'm saying even for the privileged even for the privileged Hindu in Bangladesh, you consciously don't put on the table your Hinduness, and that's a big problem because you might be a government officer, you might be a military officer, you might be a police officer, but you are not a proud Hindu, and proud Hindu necessarily doesn't have to be at the expense of any other faith. You can't vociferously express your religiosity, which sense has now the sense of which has now come among Hindus or across the social divide.
Deep, I'll just ask something similar there. Like we had seen the past across globe, in US, in other countries also, like Hindu leaders will publicly distance themselves from the being Hindu or from Hinduness.
Yeah.
Now, off late, we see a kind of thing where, in America, like there is this presidential candidate who now is voted out. I'm forgetting his name. He is there. Rishi Sunak is there. Now they are not apologetic about their roots. They are coming out and saying, yes, we are Hindu. Why in Bangladesh that sense is still not there? Why the sense of inferiority is still persists there?
The Bangladesh constitution is an interesting one. On the one hand, it says that Islam is the state religion, but along with that, there is also a talk of secularism. And secularism is one of the stated aims of the Sheikh Hasina government, which is now in power for 15 years and counting. But you cannot miss the fact that, and I get sort of from the right, from my friends in the right, I get a lot of, sometimes they say that, you're being too hopeful. But you cannot miss the fact that there's been a sharp decline in the Hindu population in Bangladesh. It is now, I think, at 7.9%. So I mean, in the days of data journalism, for instance, this cannot be overlooked. Where are the Hindus in Bangladesh vanishing? There's a Dhaka University professor, Muslim professor, Professor Barat, who has written an article, and I have quoted that from that article in my book. You might have seen it, and it's talked about often in Bangladesh when they bring up the Hindu question, that 30 years from now there will be no Hindu left in Bangladesh. So I think now almost every Hindu in Bangladesh is aware of the fact that it's a clear and present danger. So I think the last thing they want to do is put forth their identity strongly on the table. I think they somehow want to keep harping that they're Bangladeshis, not Hindu Bangladeshis. I can tell you from where I see things. We did Mail Today together, and then you stayed back in Delhi while I went to Bhopal. That was the first time in my journalistic career, and also in my lived experience, had I gone to a place which was out of my bubble, So, and it made me look at India from a very different light. I had only stayed in Kolkata and South Kolkata, Delhi, South Bombay. So I have stayed in very sanitized spaces. I think so it's only when I went to Bhopal that I started uh, viewing India from a very different light. I think one of the problems of Kolkata or of the Bhadralok experience is that for all the reading they do, if we are to accept that they do a lot of reading, sometimes they don't. I think their lived experience is very limited. They don't step out of their bubble. I think Devdutta will agree to this. There's a life outside Park Street or life outside Nandon, which they need to explore. And it's unfortunately true for some of the senior journalists from Kolkata as well. I think they are more ideologically, of course, their ideology, of course, plays a part in them not seeing the world from various standpoints. But I think their own lived experience is extremely limited. So because that's why I took my own example, that it's only when for instance, religiosity, I have grown up being very careless about my religiosity. And it's not as if I'm very religious now, but how important a part religion plays in people's daily lives, I understood when I went to Bhopal, because my understanding of society was very, very limited.